Hello! What do you really know about the Swedish economy? My name is Lotta Moberg, and I welcome this opportunity to dispel some of the myths about the economic system in my country, as part of the Center for Freedom and Prosperity's Economics 101 series. Our topic is comparative economics, an examination of what policies cause economic growth and which ones lead to stagnation. First, some background. Sweden has not always been the country of the welfare state and high tax rates. My country became rich many decades ago when we embraced the principles of the free market. The golden age of economic growth in Sweden began around 1870 and lasted about 100 years. During that period, real per capita income rose sevenfold, giving Swedes the fourth highest per capita income in the world by 1970. How did we become rich? Sweden had robust and secure property rights and the rule of law, with a fair and honest court system, and a solid private banking system. Trade surged as tariffs and banking regulations declined. Sweden also had a relatively small government for most of that period, with taxes and spending about the same level as the United States. But in the 1970s, things began to go wrong, and the Swedish economy began to lag other rich nations. The government gave subsidies to industries in trouble, instead of letting inefficient companies fail and leave room for new and more productive ones. Taxes were sharply increased. At one point, taking into account all taxes, the marginal tax rate was over 100% for some people. All of the new subsidies and benefits resulted in the public sector consuming an even larger share of national output. The 70s was also the decade of new regulations on the labor market, with more protection of workers and more obligations for employers toward employees. The Swedish currency, the krona, was devalued several times in an attempt to boost export industries. This is a bit like peeing in your pants. It's first all warm, but will soon turn cold for a long period ahead. A nasty spiral of even higher wage demands from workers was met with currency devaluations in vain attempts to save businesses. The unpredictability in the economy continued in the 80s, with devaluations combined with expansive fiscal policies, until the country plunged into a crisis in the beginning of the 90s. But my home country has begun to change. We have privatized many of our state-owned firms, liberalized the credit market, deregulated international currency transactions, and lowered the marginal income tax rate. Also, unemployment and sickness compensation payments have been reduced. We have reformed the school and healthcare systems and brought in private incentives. Sweden is more of a market economy today, with fewer unpredictable government interventions. There is still much to do in Sweden. More tax and spending reforms are needed. Rent controls and labor market regulations are still too onerous. But we are moving in the right direction with some good free market policies. But what can we learn from the history of Sweden? Unpredictable and lavish government spending and protection of industries in risk of collapse is not a sound economic policy. Trying to smooth out the booms and busts in the economy by these interventions often lead to the opposite. Trade restrictions and tariffs impede economic growth, and it does not help your economy to protect favored industries from the outside world. Also, heavy labor market regulations ultimately reduce job opportunities, which hurts the unemployed. Thank you for listening. This is Lotta Moberg for the Center for Freedom and Prosperity.